Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are, whoever you are, and welcome once again to Full Fat Spoiler Chat, the show in which we, the folks at Nerd Caliber, take a look at a recent piece of nerdy entertainment and dig deep into it and look at what's good, what's bad, what worked, what didn't, themes, tones, messages, and so on. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the very recent Paramount movie that dropped on Amazon Prime Video, The Tomorrow War, starring Chris Pratt et al. Science fiction, military, time travel. They got a lot of things going on here.
Mm.
Type war, or type movie. I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor in chief of Nerd Caliber. I'm a first person shooter as a cosplay photographer on Facebook, Burley_adopter on Twitter, a couple of other places, mostly as a tech journalist. Joining me tonight is the person that's absolutely responsible for this entire wonderful enterprise that we're a part of. Manny, if you would introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Manny. I'm the founder of Nerd Caliber, and if I could time travel, I would warn you about certain movies. Which, funny enough, that's what we're going to talk about. Oh yes, yes.
Anyway, so that's a great segue into something I forgot in my earlier part of the introduction. This is Full Fat Spoiler Chat. So if you have not seen The Tomorrow War, or if you don't mind spoilers, or if you do mind spoilers, if you've not seen Tomorrow War, find something else to watch, I would suggest. Maybe some of our back videos. Some very excellent quality stuff in there. But if you have seen it or you don't mind spoilers, hang around. Let us know in the chat what you think about this, if you've seen it, or what you think about our opinions about it, or I guess anything in general. But we're probably going to stick to the movie because that is kind of the topic. Kawan, welcome to the show on YouTube, and I think that's all we've got doing anything other than lurking right now. Feel free to, again, throw in a question or potentially, although I hope you don't have to, leave if we're going to be spoiling this for you. So the Tomorrow War is an original property. It's a movie that was written by Zach Dean, who has really very little in his retinue. He's written two other movies, something in 2012 and something in 2017, and that was pretty much it. And he's got a bunch of other stuff in pre-production right now. Directed by Charlie McKay, and if that name sounds familiar, director of the Lego Batman movie. And Lego Batman Movie 2, which is coming out soon. Producer of the Lego movie. He's produced an awful lot of stuff. And one of the primary directors for all sorts of stuff on Robot Chicken. So clearly he likes his animation. And in fact, directed every episode of Adult Swim's Moral Oral, which was a very interesting series. Stars Chris Pratt, Yvonne Strahovski, J.K. Simmons, Betty Gilpin, and then a bunch of other people who are, lesser known but very credible jobs for the most part. And it's the story of, set in 2022, Chris Pratt is a high school science teacher, former military special forces operative, who during a party, I'm trying to remember when, it doesn't matter what kind of party or what they're celebrating. Everybody's watching the World Cup, so it may have actually been a World Cup watch. The World Cup itself is interrupted by people showing up out of this portal, military types, and they lay out the fact that they are from the future. 2051, 30 years in the future. At that point, most of humanity is dead after the planet's been attacked by these alien creatures. And they are here in the past to basically draft people to come forward into the future with them to fight. And try to keep humanity from getting wiped out entirely. And that's the basic premise. And everything, pursues from there. and so that's pretty much just it's not based on a novel or a graphic novel or anything like that. It's original concept. So as we do in these shows, and if you're familiar with any of the previous ones we've done, we start with the things that we like. So Manny, what did you like the best about this? What worked for you? What did they shoot for and achieve?
I would say first the acting. The actors involved in this are excellent. J.K. Simmons, I thought he was great in this role. Um, Yvonne Strovsky, who I haven't seen since Chuck.
Yeah,
Um, but I've been a fan of hers. I like her work, and she's great.
I've seen her in
Um,
something. I'm going to look it up right now, but yeah,
yeah, I know she's done other things here and there, but Chuck is just always in the forefront.
she's in the
Um,
Handmaid's Tale. That's what it is.
oh, okay, okay. But Chris Pratt does a great job with the role that he's given, the lines that he's given. Um, Besides that, I would say some of the action scenes are decent. I did like the final fight at the end, where they fight against the mother alien. Between and it was just J.K. Simmons and Chris Pratt at the end. Spoilers, remember we're spoiling everything.
Exactly.
And I thought it was gonna go a certain way. I honestly I thought it was gonna do the trope where like the father who's been abandoned the whole time is gonna sacrifice himself for his son, and then it almost looked like it was gonna go there, but it turned out it didn't do that trope, which was good because I like J.K. Simmons. I did like, oh, don't tell me they're gonna kill him.
Yeah.
Um, I thought he was great. I did like Edwin Hodges' character, Dorian, the one who had cancer. And to me, of all the characters there, his was to me is the most believable. Yeah, okay, I could see going over to fight aliens if I had to choose between maybe that and die of cancer 6 months from now. So I thought his motivation to me made the most sense, and I like this character a lot.
Yeah, but you got to
Um,
remember, none of them really choose to do this. So he actually, this is his third trip, in a trip in which a significant percentage of people generally don't return. They get killed. Um, so yeah, he's definitely a badass. But Pratt, when they first put his time tracker bracelet, let me bring that image up here, on him, he's told that you try to skip out on it's a draft. People around the world are drafted for this. As you try to skip out on this, and you'll go to prison, and somebody in your family will take your place. So, yeah. So yes, Dorian is re-upping because once you do it once, if you make it, you're done, and it's a 7-day commitment. So
yeah, which only what 30% of those that go to the future survive and come
right,
back pretty much traumatized.
yeah,
Um, Besides that, I would say the design of the aliens wasn't horrible. I thought they did look monstrous and they were formidable. Um, uh, it's very unique design in a way. I couldn't think of what they was similar to. Maybe video game certain aliens,
yep.
some of the first person shooter games. Um, but for the most part, it was good. I thought the design for that was very good. Besides that, that's all I really could say. That's good.
Yeah. I get a few other things, or I'll get a little bit more in detail on some of them. I guess they're mostly the same. I think the cast is excellent for the most part. Um, Yvonne Strahovski is fantastic. The standout for me was Sam Richardson, Charlie,
Mm.
the former science teacher who is now working for a tech company. He's hilarious, and he has a moment when they finally come back, and the few of them that survive come back. Um, he and Chris Pratt's character Dan are laying down on recovery cots in a big hangar, and his Charlie is a nervous talker, just won't stop, which is part of the humor in his character. And he's laying there, and when Dan says, "Hi, how you doing?" he hardly gets out 2 words, and Richardson sells it. Like he sells this as a guy right at the beginning of the worst parts of lifelong PTSD. Um, and I was just it's like, wow, all right. And Pratt sometimes sells that stuff too. When he goes for a job, doesn't say exactly what it is, but it's not as a high school teacher. It's a private sector job at the very beginning of the movie, and winds up not getting it. And when he's sitting there with his daughter and his wife, he sells perfectly the sort of, guy struggling to hide his disappointment from his kid. It's probably one of the more nuanced things that Pratt has done. And then, they give him some dialogue. Chris Pratt cannot deliver seriously. He can deliver it humorously, as we know from the Guardians of the Galaxy. He cannot deliver seriously garbage dialogue. There are people who can do that. There are people who can, you give them the most insane things to say, Sir Patrick Stewart, anything he says, whether it's from the worst X-Men movie or one of the worst episodes of something in Star Trek, you believe it 100%. He sells it. Pratt can't do that. And there are moments in this movie where you kind of go, yeah. I bought every word of that, Chris. Thanks. Which is really too bad because the other stuff he does is really good. And that is, of course, on McKay. That's on the director. That's the director got. It's like, okay, all right. I got the words out of his mouth. He's like, okay. High bar there, McKay. The alien creature designs are really good. I agree. Kind of silly at times from a... I'll give them... So this is one of the problems with, and we'll get into writing. There are moments when they do what they should do in a movie like this, where they explain something with just a toss-off line. We don't know what these aliens are. They are not, in fact, the things that drove whatever spaceship that crashed to Earth on. They were passengers in some sort of, suspended animation pods, sacks sort of things. And we don't know what they were, and someone says, or maybe weapons. Maybe they're biological weapons to wipe out a planet before, the others. I'm like, all right. We don't know. They don't ever actually nail that down, but that gives us a reason for why they are like horrible teeth. Nothing bites with teeth like that. I brought up a picture of when the Queen is like right in Miri's face. It's just, evolution wouldn't make something like that. It just doesn't work. You can't eat with teeth like that. So, why would that happen? Well, if you're a biologically created weapon, so that you can run really fast, you've got a shell on your back, you've only got a couple of soft spots where you can possibly be attacked, you have tentacle-like, in addition to your four limbs, you have tentacle-like structures with, three-part opening mouths like the worms in Tremors, except they're smaller tentacles, obviously, that shoot these organic bone darts.
Yeah, or like armor piercing,
because they come out at like apparently insane speeds and they're very tough. Evolutionarily, that doesn't make any sense in any ecological niche that you can think of. As a weapon, sure. They explained the time leap thing. Time moves forward. You can't do anything about that. Their time jumps are two fixed points in the timeline that continues to move in the timeline. So you can move back and forth between these 2 points, which will then move forward in the timeline. So when you come back from this one in the future, if it's been 7 days, in the past, it's been 7 days. But you can't go anywhere else on that timeline. It doesn't work like that. It's not like Avengers stuff where you can just pop into a point. You have a device here and a device here, or a device here and an end landing point here, and that's it. And I went, all right, cool. That makes sense. I like that's, smart. And then they just do some, some of the idiotic stuff. So, but that's for the next segment. I really like the casting representation. Chris Pratt is white. Betty Gilpin is his wife, is white. Of course, J.K. Simmons is white. And then The next one, two, three, four primary characters are black. I'm like, wow. All right. And competent. And, Dorian, is dying of cancer. He's the, sullen, dark, brooding, but damn, is he competent. Sam is, or Charlie is as competent as a comedian can be. Um, Lieutenant Hart, Major Greenwood, you know, they all know their stuff. Um, and I thought that was really, really cool to see in a modern movie like that. Um, and let's see what else. That's pretty much it for me as well. Um, Occasional moments of smart dealing with the science fiction from a writing standpoint. Mostly really well delivered acting, even if they're acting some pretty dumb stuff. Um, J.K. Simmons. It's not appropriate to say J.K. Simmons stole this movie. J.K. Simmons owns this movie.
Mm.
He is hands down the best thing in this movie. I mean, he's this movie's daddy or grandpa. Or best line in the entire movie, conspiracy Santa over there. It's like, yes.
I just realized you probably could cosplay the grandpa.
Uh,
You got the beard.
I've got the beard and the bald head. I have to jack up about 20 pounds of muscle and drop about 120 pounds of fat. But I could maybe do it. Not that anybody will recognize me, because who's want to watch this movie? That's pretty much it for me too, for as far as likes. Music, it's okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So that said, time for them dislikes. What didn't work for you? What did they shoot for and miss? Fire away.
The plot. The plot stunk. Oh my gosh, the plot made no sense. Just hearing you explain the plot in the beginning, I just want to burst out laughing at how ridiculous the premise is. Oh gosh, I've seen a lot of time travel movies, a lot of time travel TV shows, and I'm used to like 75% of being the ignore the plot holes, because there's a lot you have to deal with in time travel movies. But this one is just too much. I had to say no. no, no more to this. It's
so I will in the middle where they make the biggest dumb decision, and I'll save my description of what that is for my part. I was swearing at my screen, and I don't know what I don't remember what I said, but it activated my Echo Dot. So there were some L's and X's in there, I guess, but can't think of what that would be, or at least it sounded like that. But Mr. Krakowian, welcome to the show. We are spoiling the Tomorrow War. If you have seen it, our condolences. I mean, if you have seen it, feel free to hang around and chat. Or if you don't mind spoilers, feel free to hang around and chat. If you want to have this Shakespearean level quality epic, not spoiled for you, then this isn't the show. I think we're kind of giving away our currently in process what didn't work segment. So, Manny, you were saying about the plot.
So let me get this straight. So aliens attack in the future. They have a means to go back 30 years in the past. And they want to grab people that are at least 4 years and over, or people that they're going to show they're going to die in the future to come and fight.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't they just give us knowledge so we could prevent the future? I mean, they finally realized that toward the end, but it was just frustrating seeing that they finally understood that at the end. And so it's like, okay, so you can't beat these guys, and you want to send more of us in the past who have no experience, bringing people out there that have no experience in fighting whatsoever. Some do, most don't. To fight in the future, knowing they're going to be fodder, or just be, I don't know. I don't know
Sacrificial victims.
Yeah, but what they're sacrificing for, I have no clue yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. The
So here's one of the things that I had to do a little bit of math here. Um, as you say, one of the points that they make here is that most people that they see are like over 40, and they come to the realization, so, oh, that's because everybody has died. Because apparently there's a paradox thing. You can't bring somebody in to a point in the future where they still exist. Like, oh yeah, cool. Well, didn't you already just say that there's only 500,000 people left on Earth out of a population of, essentially it starts in 2022, so of 8 billion? That means that 99.9954 something actually percent of the population is dead at that point where you need to bring them forward to, so you can literally bring the entire population of the planet Earth forward. They don't have to be 40. They don't have to be. They don't have to be any age, frankly. Um, you know, 500,000 people versus 8 billion. It's just like, so they made, the realization is, oh, you can't bring people forward who aren't dead. It's like, so that's why they're all over 40. But they made that realization, and nobody then just turned around and went, yeah, but everybody's dead in the future. So just bring everybody.
oh
Yeah, I want
no.
to get that Gary Oldman. Everyone. Anyway,
Also, okay, so all right, that's another perspective. Um, Visitors from the future come in and say, "Hey, we all need you to band together and fight for the future." I just can't imagine even one government saying, "Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, we'll send everyone out there." Oh man, that it was something that I just couldn't believe that it could happen. There
yep,
was no way that would happen.
yep.
Um, that's it. It wasn't for the fight scenes. This movie really will be unbearable. This is the type of movie you would see back in the days at Blockbuster. Like, oh, made for DVD. Oh, that's a great cast. Wonder why I've never heard it before. And then you watch it and like, oh, I see why. It's
That's
terrible.
why. Yeah.
At least the graphics were good. But man, oh, this is a bad movie. It makes Transformers look like Shakespeare.
that that is sadly true. Uh, so I agree 100%. The plot does not make sense. We already discussed there. Literally doesn't make sense when 99.99% of the population is dead, doesn't exist anymore. Into the point where they're bringing them. It's just it's just moronic, and the plot revolves around the thing that I absolutely hate the most. Smart people have to do insanely stupid and illogical things for the plot to happen.
Hmm.
Now, and even the overall structure of the plot, we find out, this is kind of a big spoiler, although it's just personal, it doesn't really make any sense, that the Colonel, YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Looks like it's streaming to me. What are you telling me, YouTube? Well, everything else is working fine, YouTube, so that's going to be on your end. So the picture I brought up here is, of course, Chris Pratt as Dan. He finds out that the colonel who brought him forward, that's Yvonne Strahovski there, is actually his adult daughter, Murray, who's 9 years old in his 2022 timeline. And she's working on, or her team is working on, I mean, she is a brilliant scientist, graduated from MIT, blah, 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 is working on creating a toxin that will kill the female. So apparently there's one female, and all of the rest of these creatures, they're called white spikes because of the spikes they shoot, are male. And the female is, super, super important, and the males basically live just to protect the female. And they've figured out a toxin that will kill the males. But now they need to figure out a toxin that will kill the female because she is resistant to it. It harms her, but it won't kill her. and apparently it doesn't harm her enough because she's bigger, stronger, and tougher, kind of like the Alien Queen in Alien. Um, but her plan is to get the toxin back to the 21st century because they no longer have the production capacity to actually manufacture this in large scale, and then have it brought forward again so that they can use it. But we discover at the end that, like, low grade explosives like C4 can kill them. 50 calibers can kill them. So there's a whole scene where they have to capture the female to try to get, use its blood, whatever, for research. In its nesting area, which is, again, it's a scene that you're seeing here. There's a convenient sand pit out in the middle of the jungles in the Dominican Republic. It's another thing that just pissed me right off. In their first drop, they have to go to try to rescue these scientists in Miami. And it's screwed up and whatever. But so they get there, and they're told they're going to Miami. They get there, and Dorian, who's done this a bunch of times, jokingly, "Welcome to Miami," where there's just ruins and a city on fire and so on. And then, that goes sideways. A whole bunch of people die. Pratt gets knocked out, wakes up in a military facility. And instead of having somebody tell us, a ticker goes something forward base somewhere Dominican Republic. I can't remember what the name of the town was. I'm like, you've already established that you're going to have people diegetically tell you in the dialogue of the story what the setting is as exposition, funny exposition or whatever, but they tell you that. And then for that literally one scene, they do a, labeling crawl. And I'm like, why? That doesn't make any sense for the structure of the rest of the way you're doing this. Anyway. So they go to capture the queen. They've established in the future that these things can be blown up or shot or whatever. And they have, as we see in the Miami, where they have to bomb it before, as the people are trying to escape, because that makes sense, that they have FB-22 fighter bomber Raptors, Apache. They still have the vast majority of at least the eastern seaboard's military might. Why don't you just drop a freaking bomb on their, a bunker buster bomb? These things are not very deep. And blow the female all to smithereens. Find assuming there are more, find every female nesting area on the planet. And it's not like humans aren't really good at making bombs. And they didn't disappear. There's nothing in here that says the aliens came and, somehow defused every bomb on the planet. It's just so stupid that your plot has to be driven by this idiotic idea that you've got to make a toxin, send it back in time to be manufactured, bring it when they still have access to all of the U.S. military. Just dumber than a box of rocks. But then the stupidest thing, again, these are scientists. Even the people that come forward in Chris Pratt's team, most of them are scientists or former scientists. They're, divided up. The people who are brought forward in time at the time when Chris Pratt is brought forward are divided up into two teams, the D and the R. A D is defense or whatever, and R is research. And so they are people brought forward primarily to be researchers. There are some fighters in there, like Dorian is in the group to help protect them, but so they're smart people, and these are the dumbest scientists since Prometheus. So to do the research on the female, they take her to the offshore military base that's on a giant oil derrick platform thing and surrounded by huge walls. even though any casual observer, I noticed as soon as they showed the males even fighting, they communicate intelligently. They work together as teams. One of them barks a kind of noise, and the others do they're at least as intelligent as the raptors in one of Chris Pratt's other movies. And the Queen can communicate with these things over great distances. And again, that's demonstrated in the scene where they have to take her out. They've killed, using the toxins, all of the males in that area. And as they're trying to take her out, thousands of males from who knows how far away come swarming over the hills and into that, gravel pit. So, and they've had years to research these things. They've done research on them enough to know what kind of toxins can kill the males. They have no idea they can communicate, apparently, and they have no idea that the Queen can communicate from a long distance with these things. Or the female. They don't ever call it a queen, for whatever reason. How can you be that dumb? And then, as Manny pointed out, the whole thing about, not knowing when or where they actually came from. Part of the plot is that nobody's been able to find out. They know they first appeared in Russia, northern Russia, but nobody's been able to find out exactly, where their ship landed or any evidence of a crash or anything like that. And it isn't until they get back where one of Pratt's students.
Oh, that has to be one of the most stupidest parts of the movie.
Yep.
Because I saw in the beginning, they kept emphasizing like, oh, he loves volcanoes, which, okay, he loves volcanoes a lot. And I was like, okay, please don't let this be a plot device I'm going to go back to later when I'm going to ask the kid questions. I was like, please don't let it do that. And it did.
See on the screen right there, it did. Now, I will give them credit. They did a creditable job adhering to the Chekhov's gun rule. They introduced earlier in the movie all of the elements that went into making any of these discoveries or plot points or so on. As dumb as most of those plot points are, there's no Deus Ex Machina. They actually set it up that it's got to pay off at some point. In pretty much every instance. Some of them are just incredibly obvious, like that, or like Chris Pratt going to see his estranged dad, J.K. Simmons, who's living in a hangar at an old airfield somewhere, and there's a C-130 parked out on the airfield. And it's like, okay, Dad's got one hell of a plane. Well, that's going to play a role going forward, and it did. So we were talking, I'm sorry, I forgot where I was ranting. I was ranting about how stupid they are and the fact that they brought all of these people. Joe Abramo, well, to me, yeah, it's just a coincidence that the kid likes volcanoes, along with the other people knowing how to do things that Pratt needed at the end. Yeah, I mean, you can view it as coincidences, but one of the rules of proper screenwriting or story writing in general is that if you go out of your way to call out a device or a bit of knowledge or something early in the product story, you need to use it at some point at the end. Otherwise, don't call it out. Don't mention it. Don't utilize it. It's a waste of, words or dialogue or screen real estate or whatever. And I'll give them this. They did that well. Sure, they're all coincidences, but they're coincidences that were laid out at earlier in the movie. And welcome to the show, Joe. And thanks for your comment. And now I can't remember what I was ranting about.
Well, what do you think of the whole thing? And I've seen this a lot in movies, especially bad movies, where like this family is extremely dysfunctional. Apocalypse comes, some sort of end of the world event. Now we all get along. Well,
yeah.
What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's pretty dumb. I think let's shift over into theme and message and so on, because that's kind of where we're going with this anyway. So the message of this clearly is that family is everything. Even more important to Chris Pratt, apparently, than the actual safety of the universe, or of the planet Earth anyway. His daughter, in the attempt to get them Oh, here was my point. So this ties into the whole family thing. This offshore facility is also where the future anchor point is for the time portal machine. And we know they only have one. That was again laid out early in the movie, and that it's just barely functioning. As one of the military guys, actually Greenwood, says, it's held together with bubblegum and chicken wire. So the brilliant scientist and all of their team set up the research facility to work on the queen that they should know can communicate over great distances at the same place where the only way they can get back and forth in time exists. Okay. So, of course, thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of the males, didn't they know they can swim? Apparently they didn't. Swarm the ship or swarm the facility. There are minefields around. They just, it's like, the zombies in World War Z or ants swarming something. They just sacrifice themselves until enough of the mines are blown up that more of them can get through. And they start climbing over, and anyway. And insanity and craziness ensues, and the jump is going to happen in minutes. And so they're trying to make sure that Chris Pratt survives. One of the ideas is getting him up in a helicopter, which, anyway. And of course that doesn't work. And at the very, and he's holding, they do develop a toxin that kills the female. He's got like the one vial, and he has to take it back to have it mass produced. He's holding that one thing in his hand. The female that has broken out now that all of these males showed up. They wind up getting into a fight with it where there's like seconds left before the jump happens, and his daughter Murray, Colonel Forrester, gets shot by one of the spiky things. She's bleeding out. The structure collapses. The female falls down and then grabs onto her. It's a very flee you fools moment. And she, of course, just like Gandalf, lets go to save everybody else. And Chris Pratt jumps off the freaking platform with the only thing that can stop any of these things in his hand, as far as he knows. He doesn't know that they can literally just be easily blown up with bombs. And why they don't know that, I have no idea. To save his daughter, even though there's zero chance that she can be saved. They're going to fall into a massive writhing pit of aliens. So, yeah, family's more important than anything. What is he, Dom? It's a Fast and Furious movie. Joe, I was about to say it's like ants providing to the queen almost, but instead it's like a World War Z. That's what really reminded me when the aliens swarm over the walls that are protecting Jerusalem in World War Z. It was very much like that. That's the impression I got.
I think you meant zombies. You said aliens.
Aliens, yes, zombies. Sorry, my bad. Might as well be the same. For as much as this movie makes sense. It's so stupid. It relies on people having to be stupid. The people come back from the future. It takes a couple of years of missions going forward and so on before Chris Pratt's call up happens. So they're here with the knowledge of what's going on in the future for even, let's say, a year, for 1 year. And they can't figure out the fact that the alien ship crashed well before humanity was a deeply scientific. It crashed around the year 1000. And way off in northern Russia, so nobody saw it, and it got buried under ice. Like, okay, all right. So, but nobody could figure that out. If you put out something like that today on Reddit, Redditors would have your answer in 5 minutes. No question whatsoever. Or at least somebody on Reddit would say, hey, did anybody think about Like, oh yeah, okay. And, anyway, you have to be, your characters have to be absolute morons for this plot to even start to happen. And I hate that in movies, in any entertainment. Um, so
Um,
yeah.
there's some other things I want to share about this movie. Please build swimming pools on your roofs. That way, when the soldiers are teleported in, they have someplace safe to land in. Always have two friends with you so that when the horde of aliens come at you, they stick around and sacrifice themselves while you run away unnecessarily.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Oh, and by the way, the awesome Mary Lynn Rajskub from 24 and a bunch of things since then that I haven't seen, but she's been in a lot of stuff. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Um, is one of those characters early on in the movie. And she shows up, she plays a character named Nora. It's like, wait a minute, that's Chloe from 24. Like, yes. Anyway,
yeah, I was going to suggest also that maybe send like some sort of electronic file with them, with Chris Pratt to come back with instead of just a vial. Because I'm not a science person per se, but I'm assuming that that'll take a couple of there's going to be some time before they break that down and figure out what that is
yep.
he has in his hand. But then again, 30 years from now, maybe they have some sort of super floppy disk that we couldn't read anyway. Who knows?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because I'm sure that the idea of thumb drives will disappear forever.
Yeah.
Uh, um, I didn't even think about that. That's a great point. It took about a year to develop COVID-19 vaccines, but that's because they've been working on mRNA vaccines for similar type viruses that they've been testing in animals. Some of them have actually been approved for veterinary purposes prior to the COVID pandemic. So, they've got this vial of something they have no, which includes alien bodily fluids in it. They have no idea what it is, and they're going to have to just automatically figure out how to, reproduce it. It would have been so much better to have a thumb drive with all of the data on it. Just like, and there was no chance that he was going to crack it, which he didn't, which is really stupid.
Yeah, that was interesting.
But anyway, yeah, I don't. There's no other themes to this other than, government dumb and bad, which just knowing. Chris Pratt isn't the writer of this. He's not the he's not the director. None of that. But knowing some of Pratt's personal background, it's a little on the nose. It's like, okay, yeah, let's go, conservative boy. Yeah, government bad. Oh, Jesus, stop it. Just stop it. And I watched the credits because at first I thought, based on the weapons and so on, because they all use those little the Swedish bullpups, made incredibly popular in the pink version in the anime Gun Gale Online. P9s, I think. I guess to indicate that it's in the future. But and so I'm thinking, it's like, oh, okay, so I guess they really didn't get, because they're not using regular camo or anything like that, I guess they didn't get approval to, with the Department of Defense to make everybody look good. But then you got the, the F-22s, they're actually F-22s, and it's like, oh, okay. And then all the other weapons and so on, it's like, oh. So I looked at the trailer and the C-130, and sure enough, they worked with the Air Force. And in fact, he is, they say Special Forces, he was a CSAR, Combat Search and Rescue.
Search and rescue.
Yeah. Which is the Air Force versions of the most badass people on the planet. The Air Force doesn't have an awful lot of other badassery type, Rangers and so on, but the CSAR guys in the Air Force, they can go up against Rangers and, Green Berets from the Marines and stand toe to toe. But so they did get the cooperation of the Department of Defense and which has a great new logo in the year 2022 apparently. Thierry Rose Keel, hi, welcome to the show. We are just about wrapping up spoiling the heck out of the Tomorrow War. Although I guess we're kind of done because we're in themes and so on.
Yeah.
So, my gist is even with the cooperation of the U.S. military, they still make the government and the military, mostly the government, not in the military though, out as being, useless and moronic. No, though actually the straight up or the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, or no, the Secretary of Defense is an idiot. So yeah, Joe reminds me of the Terminator franchise almost, but very little, like the teleportation kind of weapons, and the F-22s are almost like future tech kind of thing. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point, Joe. By using the F-22s and using the P9 guns and so on, they do label it as sort of future techy. So I guess they pull that off in their and that's another one of the look of the things, as Manny mentioned. That is one of the things that's pretty good about it. The design overall, not just the aliens. But anyway, so yeah, that's the themes are family is good, government's bad, and build rooftop pools so you can catch your falling soldiers when your time teleportation thing fucks up. Sorry, screws up.
And a great cast does not equal a great movie.
Never has. I can't think of the name of it. That terrible Chris Pratt, Jennifer Lawrence movie. Where they're on a suspended animation long-term ship to Alpha Centauri.
Oh, Passengers.
Passengers. Yes.
Oh boy, yeah, that's.
Otherwise known as Gaslighting Groomers. Oh God, what a horrible movie that was too. So Chris, stick with the MCU, please, or pick better projects. That's it, folks. That's our show for tonight. Roundup, Manny. Number out of 10, and how strong a recommendation are you going to give it?
Let's see. 1 out of 10, I would say -2.
J.K. Simmons brings it up to a 2 out of 10. He's just awesome in this.
That's true.
He is like the baddest badass. He's hobo with a shotgun, except cooler.
Yeah. Yeah, to be fair, I think if this was in a large screen, maybe I would like it better because you can see more of the graphics and the sounds might be better, and have that movie experience where you're just around people and popcorn and all that. It's definitely a popcorn flick.
But it's 2 hours. Joe retracted something. It's 2 hours and 13 minutes long, and I would rather have my bathroom just a couple of doors over that way. Joe Abramo, he was like the only reason I watched this. Yeah, it's like I said, J.K. Simmons owns this movie. So yeah, don't watch it, folks. Don't waste your time. Or watch it for J.K. Simmons and then have something else going on while anything other than the action scenes, and turn your brain off even for those, or J.K. Simmons is on. So folks, not tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday, and we're getting ready working for the weekend. Next Monday, Anime Octane, we'll be talking about Odd Taxi. Spoiling it right now, go watch Odd Taxi. I'm not going to wait to tell you what I think of it. Go watch Odd Taxi. If you like Knives Out and Guy Ritchie movies like Snatch and Quentin Tarantino like dialogue without all the F-bombs and the N-words, and a mystery that would make Agatha Christie proud, go watch Odd Taxi. It's freaking incredible. And so now you don't have to watch Monday's show, but please watch Monday's show. Next Tuesday, of course, Nerd Week Live. We're already putting stuff into the news hoppers. Some pretty interesting things dropped already. And next week, you know what it's going to be, folks. Full fat spoiler chat, Black Widow. Which means because Loki ends next week as well, Loki will be the week after that. We had to do some juggle in there and figure out, which one was going to have to come first. And, I think Black Widow is probably the more important one to cover first.
Yes.
And we have a review, spoiler free, up on the website already. Go check it out. Byron D Zero, our man with the review hat on, often has it out there and is pretty positive on it. So
Yeah.
go check it out. And check out, speaking of checking things out, he says as he struggles to find his damn picture, our patreon.com. Joe Abramo, will you cover Halloween Kills? We don't currently have it on our schedule, but our schedule isn't really terribly far out. When does Halloween Kills come out, Joe, if you know? But anyway, while Joe is answering us with that question, patreon.com/nerdcaliber. We would love to have you as a patron, giving us your support. We just have a couple of tiers, and they're both really low dollar. The idea is, as cons come back, we would love to be able to expand out and hit more cons, get more coverage at the cons we're going to, etc., etc. And do more of this stuff. In fact, in a few minutes, we're going to be talking about possibly something new that you should all stay tuned for. Not like right after this, because we're not going to make an announcement, and the show's going to be over. But I mean, at some point, stay tuned. Joe hasn't responded yet with Halloween Kills, so I can't say, Joe.
October 15.
Okay.
October 15.
So we haven't scheduled out to October, and as a rule, we don't generally do horror unless it shifts more towards the sort of nerdy stuff. Horror is certainly a niche, and it's a very popular niche within us, and also in general among nerdy entertainment. But it's generally considered a separate thing than nerd, like science fiction, fantasy, comic books, etc. So we'll have to look at what it is. I don't think I've even seen the trailer yet, so I'll check it out. It could be on there. If it is, it will be either the week after or the second week after it premieres, October 15th. So
Yeah, I know we'll have some sort of horror content of some sort. We're just not sure where in the schedule yet.
right, yeah, that's true. As Halloween comes around, we'll definitely be doing something horror related. Although Dune has just been kicked out to October 22nd, so pretty sure.
Ooh, that's a Halloween one? Wow.
Yeah, that would be our actual Halloween show, because there's no way we're not doing Dune as soon as it's available. So, but anyway, folks, that's the show for tonight. Manny, give us a goodbye.
Take care, get your shots, and we'll see you next time.
Please, folks, please get vaccinated if you haven't been already. They have just declared a state of emergency in Tokyo. They are completely shutting down spectators from attending the Tokyo Olympics. There will be nobody in the Olympics, which they are still holding because money. And they don't want to give it back for all the sponsors and everybody else already paid, I'm sure. And there are reports out already that most of the states that are seeing increases in COVID hospitalizations, 70% of them are the new Delta variant. Get vaccinated. If your options are being in a hospital and maybe dying, or not being in a hospital and maybe dying because you got a shot that gave you some annoying side effects, how is that a choice? Anyway, so yes, Manny, thank you for bringing that up. And everybody stay safe if the heat waves are still going on wherever you are during the storms. People in Florida, please stay safe during Elsa. Ride that out, and then let it go. Sorry, I promised myself I wouldn't make that joke. Damn it. And on that note,